Hi everyone, so I am continuing on and hopefully you can hear me fine. Now, in my last stream, when I was actually thinking I need to continue on, I started to laugh because Spirit reminded me just in the recording that I've just done is that I went on about like if the psychics are authentic to step out and say what they truly get. And some of you might think it's just way off the line, don't bully them. And now when I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe Spirit got me to say that for other people, but also because I'm going against, in a certain way, people saying Maddie was the prime target. So if you saw what I just recorded and uploaded, I said that I think Kaylee was a big part of this because she enraged him, right? He could probably control the thing with Maddie, but Kaylee really enraged him. And as a type, physically, sexually, fantasy, I feel like Kaylee's body is the one. And Maddie, well, I described it, is the more nurturing, caring, and he probably felt he had a better chance with her. Maybe he tried to interact with her, maybe he'd seen her prior, I've gone through that, but I cannot say that Maddie was the prime target, but I'm just, everyone's saying, and that's what they're going to try and prove and stuff. And I guess all the psychics are going to be on that bandwagon as well. I have gone through the motives, there's the crime of passion type of thing, there's the enrage. I said about, these girls can just step in and grab the attention. I said in my first reading, not my very first reading, or a couple of readings ago, or three, I said that they did have a lot of stalkers. So what I'm trying to say is that it depends how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it because he interacted with Maddie online or whatever they're going to come out with, so they think she's the prime suspect, is that the prime motive? The two different things, right? So yeah, I do want to say that I think it's wrong to say Maddie was the sole prime target. I think, like, if Kaylee was not around, he'd not seen Kaylee, he'd not interacted with Kaylee, Maddie would have been like a sex crime, and then maybe what happens. The way he enters, he is so enraged that he has the fantasy, but it's kind of like enrage as well now. It's not only about that. I hope I'm making myself clear here. It's very hard to describe. And I'm happy that I'm happy to just state what I get. I said, now that everyone's saying Maddie and the whole world and the police and maybe the psychics, whatever, I'm just going with what I get. And so, several motives that I've said sit in this. It's not one motive. It's not one because he couldn't get with, maybe he approached Maddie. I said that to really, I think I've got it through what I've explained, but I would have to really sit and dismantle from my ego. But I'm just going with what I've always got and said. And so, yeah, I think, they're not tying in these several factors that have occurred that have pushed it into a certain direction of rage as well. I don't know if I'm being clear, because even when I'm saying it, I don't think I'm being clear. I hope I'm delivering this clearly. I'm getting frustrated. So I'll go on to I mentioned that I believe he had a scratch or something on his face if he hadn't had the mask. I think he was protected with his hands, but there's like a cut or a wound on his hand. There's something on his hand as well. What was it in that reading I just did where I wanted to say something and spirit stopped me? I also think he had like black shoes or boots on. So I do get that as well. Like I said, I think he's been in. So he goes straight in. A sliding door. He goes straight in and he goes straight to the left room on the top. And I think that's where the girls are. And I want to say it's the left room. Obviously, it depends if you're looking at a map or you're standing when you go in. And then it's Xana and Ethan. Ethan is totally caught off guard because he's already in like sleepy mode. And I feel like Maddie was already drifting into her sleep. Kaylee was a bit more awake because Kaylee, was it in my first reading as well? I got like, not allowed to say. I'm sorry. Kaylee was near her keyboard or something, but he was waiting for that light to switch off, and that's why he thought they'd all slept. I also, in the reading before this, went into about the two girls that were left behind and the reason for that. A couple of these four put on a fight, by the way, even though that there was like startledness and in shock, it kicked into trying to fight on. And then, like I said, a couple were really caught off guard in sleep mode. The two that were in focus, which I've mentioned who they are, they were done first. He wasn't shocked that there were others there, so Bethany and that. It was, like I said, it was just that it was mainly these four, which tells me also, because Ethan comes through with like, there was a jealousy, he's jealous. So I wonder, and I said that Ethan felt like even he could have been stalking Xana or something at one time. And I do think from what I get with BK that he would be jealous of Ethan because Ethan's living there and he's in with like this group and he's got a girlfriend and he's just like smoothing in like and I think he might have been like rugby ball or football kind of type of guy, the type that girls find attractive, and quite tall. But I said like time wise, he felt he needed to get out. Like the time was short. His adrenaline was also going down. He wasn't as the adrenaline mode and jacked off mode was kind of ramping down, and he just needed to get out. And what was the other thing that I said? But he did see them there, which is really strange because that leaves like a sign, right? I find it really weird the girls didn't call till the next day. it could be weird. I'm going to pull cards on it in the next session. I'm not trying to point fingers, but like, what I'm trying to say is that I think they were so confused on like, is this someone the others knew that was invited over? But at the same time they were frightened. But how could you sleep? That's what just gets to me. Like, how could you sleep? Could anyone sleep? Let me know in the comments if you could actually sleep. They did do some tidying before they called, so maybe clear out some alcohol bottles, beer cans, anything that could have been party kind of rug kind of stuff, flush the toilet, etc. Just because obviously something's gone wrong and there's going to be a search and stuff. BK, the control SK type, and thinks he is, I've gone into the reasons for motives, which is a few, and I'll stand by this totally. And he thinks he was smarter and he could practice and put what he's learning, his theory, into practice. And I guess that evening he thought he was smarter and could outwin the I want to say framework. It's really interesting the way I'm seeing this. It's kind of like you have the theory and then the matrix lines of lights, you know, like in Keanu Reeves. And he's like, I can show that actually you're bound by the theory of criminology and psychology of what you learn, but I can push those boundaries. But not to say that there was no kind of motive of, I've been through this, so please don't pick up on one thing that I mentioned in this reading, sex kind of motive, or the crime passion kind of motive, or the hatred and revenge and rage and all the things that I've described in him. So there's several stuff that have happened here. I would really be interested in terms of his household when a bit younger and a certain parent as well. I do think though, I'll get to it. And he was in the house with others. He had been into the house before, and I think he'd been in the house before when they have not been there as well. I do want to say nothing of what we know that's out there, like the sheaf and stuff, was planted by the cops to plant him as the one that's done this. There's nothing so far from what has been said. If anything new comes up, I'd have to tap into that. So the planting to nail him as and he wasn't the one, is not there. The defense, I've mentioned defense and prosecution quite a lot, and their game was to discredit as much as they can, discredit the main method of this. I also get newly that the defense have some kind of recordings and pictures that they were happy to put out that would discredit the prosecution in some of the prosecution, either witnesses or, you know, even authorities. I do think, and I mentioned this prior, the prosecution got to the stage, the defense was going to share recordings and pictures. Defense was going to discredit everything prosecution says and the main method, and the defense was also I think it got to a stage where they felt like he did it. Now this could go back to where I said in my previous reading, he said some truth to his defense. His family, I believe, initially thought he was innocent, had no clue it would be him, but now let's ask. I do think that they're starting to see that there was a bit of an oddball with him. Either it's like maybe friends or stuff like that. And especially if they worked in the school, they must have had some kind of idea. interesting, and around the mum. The father doesn't believe he's innocent at all right now. The mother seems to be on this frame that he's innocent, but she's haunted in some kind of way. She's having sleepless nights, and I think she might be blaming something, either her or the father. And they might not be getting along at this moment in time, but she is kind of like, I've got a yes to her believing he's innocent, but I feel like she's haunted by that. And there's a separation, a disagreement with her and her husband. I think she blames either that kind of, I don't mean they're divorced, I know they're not divorced. She blames one thing between them, or her or the father. There's something there that she's pointing at here where I see the cards. So for the mother, I've got the Empress, I've got the Nine of Swords, and I've got the Two of Wands in reverse. Something not going ahead. None of the father's cards to say that he believes he's innocent are here. So he doesn't believe he's innocent right now. I've mentioned before that I believe if he didn't have a mask, he would have got a scratch on his face. Ethan's kind of tall, and by that I mean he's like from 5'9" onwards to about 6. I don't think he's higher than 6 or 6'1". Ethan was asleep. He was caught off guard, and he says that BK was jealous of him, and he was a bit frustrated because he was wondering if he's also stalking Xana, or maybe Xana had a stalker, so he thought it was him, or something around that. So I think he might have seen him before, but not really. They don't really know him. I can tell you that. So if I ask, has BK killed before? Oh, I said the K word. Disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. Wait, let me just make sure I get this correct. Do you know what? This is really strange. Mimi, can you explain this old couple in Indiana? Because there's something here about that. I don't know where you got that from, and it's taken me by surprise. But there is something around this. The cards are telling me something I'm not really comfortable in voicing, and I want to sit on it a little bit more. So one of the things is, has he killed an animal before? Has he killed an animal before? I keep forgetting I'm not on Patreon. This is not only going to be on Patreon. It does my head in because I have to be coded and I can't tell all the stories and all the things that I get. Disclaimer: this for entertainment purposes only. I'm going to be really pissed if we've got this. So I get he's tried to, something didn't go to plan. And this is either around, I don't know if one of his parents turned up. I also get he might have done something to an animal, which was one of the things that I wanted to ask. This couple in Indiana, Mimi, I want you to tell me more, because there's something that confirms yes, but there's something that's saying it could have not, it could be that it didn't go to plan because they wasn't home, or something to do with the home for him. And I get the energy of like attempting or wanting to. Even with the top one. And then it just seems like time hasn't been right. Something didn't go according to plan. And he was on drugs when he wanted to do this. And also either a parent showed up, or he wanted it. The person in focus that he wanted was for like a maybe a relationship. And when it comes to this old couple in Indiana, oh, I've not answered I've not asked the question clearly. 1 second. So if you saw how I described, you'll know that I was getting a bit of a wacky. I was being nice. The dog's gone upstairs. I think he's trying to say it's time for sleep, and it is actually nearly 2 a.m. What am I asking? If you remember, patrons, you should see both, but if you remember and you see this and the other one is still scheduled, you do need to see that one as well. What am I asking about this couple? Oh my, no, I forgot. I do get that this couple somehow, you know, there was a change in the fate for this couple. There's something with him and this couple. There is a change of fate that occurred. And I get a knife here as well, by the way. Yeah. Wow. What's this? First time I heard of that. I want to pull from my prime deck now. Yeah, I keep getting a confirmation, but a confirmation that tells me that something around this did not go right. But he's in this. So I don't think he did it. But it seems like an old couple in Indiana. There's something with him there. But or that he wanted to, but something didn't go right. Something did not go right. That is shocking. So that's what I got there on that one. I've mentioned where I believe the sharp blunt thing is. You know, there's the water area that I mentioned, and then there's the earth area. I believe he brought a bag to put most of the stuff that he needed to put in there to keep things as clean as possible and not get stains everywhere. Spirit does want to say that even if he doesn't get the D penalty, prison is suffering for him. Being confined is a massive suffering for him. Now you might say, well, yeah, duh, but sometimes you're suffering. You might not have God or someone with you to ease your mind. It might be exacerbated, and that's what I get, that there will be suffering even in this confinement for him. The 4 are okay. Like I said, I think Kaylee is bolder, and I'd probably get her coming through. I've told you I don't agree with what's going on. That is just Maddie without intricacies there, or, you know, I've mentioned where I get Kaylee. And why the other 2, and then those 2, the girls that were left. A couple of them had left before their last physical breath, like the soul had departed, and a couple of them still hung for a few minutes there, you know, before departing. justice will be served, and Spirit confirms that. BK is a kind of know-it-all type person. I was getting that coming through. Do you know someone who, if they're on one, they're kind of like, oh God, here we go. Yeah, you know it all, you know it all. You know, the know-it-alls. I also get that Xana and Kaylee out of all of those four were the biggest kind of pranksters, or the ones that make jokes or pranks on people. Xana, I feel like, would comfort her family and friends, and I do think she does try to show comfort and make her family and friends laugh. What was the other question I wanted to ask? Yeah, while he was driving with his dad on that long trip and police stopped him, did his dad by that time, even though at one stage felt he was innocent, did his dad in the car, not now looking back, feel that his son could have been the killer, whether the alert went out? I said the K word. I get yes, when the police had stopped them, he started to question. At first, no, but then as they're driving and the police stop them, I get a yes here. I get, for me, there is a yes to that. And it seems like it was clearer to him. It was not like, it was kind of like he was starting to feel like there was a false, like the cops were starting to be imposters, and there was a false questioning happening when they were stopped. Like there was something that was feeling a bit off for them to stop them again. So let's see, when they were getting stopped, was the police on to him for more than just the driving of tailgating? Like by this time, were the police onto him for that in the background, for the MURDERs? Yes, very much so. Yeah. I'm still in shock about the old couple in Indiana. Okay, let's see what else I wanted to cover. A couple of questions. Did he leave the knife sheaf, by accident? Yeah, already got my card confirmation. He left it by mistake. Because, you know, he's quite OCD and methodical, and he kind of planned this out. He did. So it was kind of like planned out to kind of perfection. So, he didn't remember the same evening or morning when he'd left, obviously, that he'd left the sheaf there. Which is interesting. So that means he took the, because I see him driving back, like getting a buzz just to drive back. Then I would have thought that would be to see if he can get the sheaf, but apparently it's just like a buzz of, like, I don't know, to make sure, I don't know what he's making sure of, and like it's like to confirm that he was there, like it's like that it's on the 3D that he's done this. And let me just go see why the dog is barking, because okay, so what I got was the Justice and the Moon card. And as I tap into that, I get, you know, because I've taken a minute, you know, the problem with me is I pull the cards and I expect the answer from Spirit straight away, because I feel anxious to let you wait, but I'm not a tarot reader. So the tarot is my backdrop. I have to wait for the messages from Spirit. And I feel like if I don't interpret the messages straight away, I get anxious and I get worked up, and then I lose the connection. I'm just explaining this because even with the question about the old couple, where there is a yes and then there's something that's not, he's not, it's not he. I need to not tap in further or ask more questions in that, because there's something not totally on him, and not that he totally did it or did it. Something is a misfit there, right? There's something I feel is a misfit. And then the cards are reversed as well. So the cards that I've asked for are coming in reverse. None of them come upright. The upright is the ones that I've just had about the knife sheath, and I've asked it twice. And it says that he remembered. To me, the cards say he remembered when police were alerted. So he didn't remember in the same morning or day. It seems like he remember. It shows it's kind of hidden. I feel like, did he get up later that day? Like, did he stay awake during the morning and then went to sleep and then got up later? There's something like when Justice was alerted, or maybe there was an alert, that's when he kind of remembered. So what's making me think is that he put everything, you remember I said I think he put everything in a bag, and that's what he did. Just a minute, because I let the dog out and the dog has gone upstairs and the back door is open. Okay, so there's something around that. Now I can say that because I was also channeling in this previous, you'll find there's a read before this, I am starting to waver on my energy. But yeah, so that's what it's saying. It's showing me the Moon and the Justice card, and there was two cards before that Let's just ask again, right? He remembered the knife sheath when he'd calmed down from the adrenaline, and here it's telling me when he was out of the area. The out of the area. So we've got the Temperance card, the Hanged Man, and the Three of Pentacles in reverse. So he was out of the area when he actually remembered, and he was in a much calmer state when he remembered. I want to say that this could be, let me just check something. And then something about an alert that also kind of triggered and reminded him. So it could be up to 12 or 14 hours later. So that would make sense with him going, staying up during the morning, then probably sleeping and waking up. He'd already been out of the area. And by that time, there would have been a justice kind of thing. So 12 hours later, let's say it was around 3:45 or 3 or 4 or whatever. We're talking about in the afternoonish. Okay, he didn't remember right away. And let's say he put everything in a bag, including the knife. Then he probably wasn't really thinking or looking. I did want to ask another question now I'm on it. Okay, so I wanted to ask if one of the girls had grabbed the knife sheath and like put it, take it, thrown it somewhere, put it under her or something, in kind of like a way to preserve evidence or something like that. Do you know how Libby and Abby, I think it's Libby if I remember, did that recording? Ooh. Yes. Yeah. So he was took out the thing, and one of the girls had hid the knife sheath, had taken it, either put it underneath her, put it somewhere where, I don't know, and while he was doing what he was doing, one of them took it or moved it, or you know, maybe it was flung next to her, but she moved it like so that it's not, so that he'd purposely leave and it'd be there. I get a yes around that. So it'd be interesting to see where was the knife sheath in the end of this. So at one stage she did, whether he grabbed it again and then it dropped or something like that, but one of them had moved the sheath. I do get like a couple of them were really, really startled and just shocked on like what's happening, like because they were getting in sleep mode. It was kind of like, is this a dream or is this really happening? And then slowly snapping out of it and then trying to by that time one of them, it was just too late. One of them was trying to retaliate. I do want to say though, there is someone in that close-knit of circle, that separately, not to do with this, there is a bit of jealousy on the kind of a couple of other people in that house, and there is someone that's not saying everything that they think could be intricate, and that could be because something else that they were doing could look like it relates to this, but it doesn't. There's kind of like a masking of who they really are. And I do think there's a female that's going to be vital in this, and I don't know if that was the DoorDash delivery woman. And I said, now thinking of it, I did say a few readings ago, that lady would have nailed something for the jury, so it might be that. And then I find it a bit weird also. Do you know cops? So I think there's 2 recordings where cops have come out because of like music being really, really loud. Well, half the time they can't even come out on time for emergencies of such stuff. So it's kind of, that's kind of something to question. Maybe they're just really on it, or they wasn't having a busy day, but I don't know if anyone else thinks of that or thought of that. That's something I do want to bring to forward. Don't know why I'm getting to this wave bye-bye. Oh, the person who took the knife sheaf is either saying now it was taken and he yeah, like wave bye-bye, sucker, to like seeing your knife, you know, the sheaf again, like having the sheaf again. Because we got that on the last card with the High Priestess, and when he was doing someone else, that's when the person sort of took it. And I just got that through from Spirit. So I'm going to leave this here, and I will do the other reading. If you want the reading on where I mentioned I got something come through on Xana and Ethan, let me know. What you have to know about that is be very open-minded. That is life paths, and we have a destined life path, and there's a destiny of people that we meet, we cross every day, we meet, we get with, etc., and our role and their role in our lives. So why I say that is because what I'm gonna tap into, that will be a quick video. If you want that, do let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.